Our topic for discussion today is on building a consensus on tax reforms. Of course, the tax reform bills, has been in every segment of society. I mean, if you go on the street, you're on TV, anywhere, it's been a topic of discussion. And of course, that's why we're still talking about it, hoping that a resolution will be reached that all Nigerians will be happy about. Before we went on that break, I mentioned that the company income tax is also another issue. A lot of people are raising concerns about. I'd like to hear your view about that particular clause.
Okay, the company income tax, the committee divided the companies into two, small and others. The small companies are those that have turnover of 50 million and below, and the CIT rate is 0. Then if you have a turnover of more than 50 million, you pay CIT of 30%. But it's graduated descending order, where as a point, the CIT will move from 30% to 27.5% to 25%. Now, that is to align with the tax policy or the global tax policy, because taxation stands on a tripod. You have the tax policy, you have the tax legislation, and then the tax legislation, the tax administration, practice, and jurisprudence. What am I trying to say? The tax policy drives tax legislation, and tax legislation now drives the other tripod, which is administration, practice, and jurisprudence. That is court cases. Now, globally, the world is moving away from direct taxation to indirect taxation, meaning that trying to reduce the company income tax and personal income tax rate, reducing their incident, rather collecting money from indirect taxes, transaction taxes like VAT, stamp duties, withholding tax. So globally, countries are looking at, no, let us collect more money from withholding tax, from stamp duties, from VAT, from sales tax. That's why we should be making money. But issue of company income tax, personal income tax, which are direct taxes, have direct effect on, let us begin to play down on it. I think that's what the committee have done by looking at this tripod of taxation of global tax policy as it affects tax legislation and definitely tax administration. However, the governors in their own memorandum were saying both increasing VAT from 7.5 to 10 and also reducing the CIT rate should remain. That is their view. But we have the view that the reason why we don't want VAT to increase at this point is because we want to federal government to see.
Why do you think the governors want the CIT not to be reduced? Don't want the CIT to be reduced?
It's a compensating. It's a compensating thing. If you are not increasing the VAT rate from 7.5% to 10%, then why reducing the CIT rate? Government cannot lose at both ends. So if you are keeping the VAT rate, then you keep the CIT rate. But where you are increasing the VAT rate, I can say, yes, reduce the CIT. It's compensatory in nature.
So do you think that, do you see any measure in these bills that takes care of small businesses, that ensure that they truly benefit? Because small businesses, benefit an economy immensely.
Yeah. Prior to this bill, remember that what we have right now is companies that have 25 million turnover and below are exempted from tax. I'm a tax practitioner. If your company has 24 million, 23 million, 20 million, I file your returns, you don't pay any tax. You only pay me my professional fees. Now the committee have increased this threshold to 50 million. 50 million means that if you are doing business in Nigeria and your turnover is less than 50 million, you have no tax to pay. So it's a very wonderful thing. It's a very wonderful one. Right. And this turnover threshold, I also want to say it, make it very clear, is when it comes to company income tax, not when you are doing business with business names. There's a difference between business name registration and company, limited liability company. So people now who are doing business name, you can even, if you trade up to even 10 million, 20 million, 30 million business, you still pay your taxes. You can't say their turnover threshold is less than 50 million. Instead, you can go and register a limited liability company, because the amendment of this is under Company Income Tax Act. Business names are being legislated under Personal Income Tax Act. So we need to educate Nigerians very well.
That education is very critical.